Welcome back to our Fox 11 News special on high-speed rail. I'm Phil Schuman with our investigative producer, Heidi Kuda. Now, Californians voted for a bullet train. They thought that was going to take them basically along I-5 from Los Angeles up to San Francisco. We'll now know that the project doesn't really go along I-5, and they're actually starting in the middle, in obscure towns to most of us, towns in the Central Valley some of you maybe have never even heard of. Layton is one of them, where farmers tell us most of us don't want it. Ross Browning loves his country, the home he built for his retirement, and all the land surrounding it. But his plans for a quiet future may soon change. Take a look at this, an aerial view of his home, and then this. The pink represents the rail line and an overpass that could be built right where his house now sits.
I was one of those voters. I approved it, but this is not what I approved. I approved Prop 1A. And that's down a transportation corridor, regardless of what anybody else says.
Browning believes the language of Prop 1A, which voters approved in '08, is misleading, if not deceiving. It reads in part, the alignment shall follow existing transportation or utility corridors to the extent feasible as determined by the authority. To anti-rail activist Aaron Fukuda, that means the rail authority can and will do whatever it wants, wherever it wants.
I think the biggest concern that people have to have in Los Angeles is we want to forewarn you people, the way we're getting treated and the way the decisions that were made are so wrong. When they get to your area, there's nothing you can do. They will barrel through you without contacting you.
But the rail authority says that's not fair, pointing to all the community meetings they've held and will continue to hold up and down the state, assuming this project moves forward as planned. Jeff Morales, CEO of the rail authority, says they work with people to minimize negative impacts on their property and their lives.
We are doing everything we can and will do everything to avoid those, and then where we can't avoid them entirely, we're going to work as well as we possibly can with the affected people to make sure that they're treated fairly and that their issues are addressed as fully as we possibly can.
While some listen to that and scoff, others like farmer Brad Johns believe it and believe the rail authority has been truthful and true to its mission. Critics, he says, short-sighted.
They built the Golden Gate Bridge in the bottom of the Depression. They didn't know that that was going to be there either. They said you're just connecting one piece of dirt with another piece of dirt. Today, 75 years later, it's got 1 million cars a month goes across it. It's on a toll bridge, and yes, it pays its own way. The high-speed rail is, metaphorically speaking, the Golden Gate Bridge between San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Nice imagery, but the reality the rail authority is fighting, whether here on the farms or in Southern California, is skepticism about their ability to finish the job, to deal with people, and secure the tens of billions in what they call their public-private partnership that will be needed to make sure we don't just build one section of a train to nowhere here in the middle of the state.
Are they going to build us something that they can't complete? And what are they going to do if they can't complete it? Who's going to take over from there?
I understand the concerns that people have. I mean, it's the same issue you run into, when 99 was built through here, when 5 was built, when 198, any of the local roads are widened. I mean, you face these kind of issues, and you have to work through them.
Back now with Heidi. So we have a real disconnect because the farmers are saying, most of them, they're not listening to us, they don't care about me. The rail authority, Morales and Dan Richard, are saying, we hear you, we've met with you, we'll try to minimize the impact to your farms, but we do have to build the railroad.
Right, and I think that in a project as big as this one, there's always going to be collateral damage. That's just the sad truth. But I think if we had a plan that ensured, those thousands of acres you're going to be tearing up, ultimately that end goal was going to be so worthwhile that even the farmers could back it. We just don't know that at this point in time.
Because of the lack of funding? It's not because of the lack of vision. I mean, the plan clearly calls for connecting Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Primarily because of the lack of funding, and primarily because a project like this will always need a subsidy, and we were sold something that was supposed to be self-financed. This ticket you were going to buy was going to pay for it. We know that's not going to be the case.
It's supposed to be less than the cost of an airline ticket in less than 3 hours.
And that is key to their plan, and they still promise that it will be. And they still say they will come in under 3 hours eventually.
2033, maybe. All right, with all the controversy swirling around rail, one elected official here in Southern California is fighting back.
We can't afford to be mowing through towns, wasting billions of dollars, and accruing more debt on something that we have no future funding for.